Yo, this hot, this the spot. There it is, pod.com. We're interviewing the best comedians, so tune in quick and get your ears receiving them. We talking about life and life to stream right to you, from the microphone right to your home, dude. Side note, this might get embarrassing, but no, don't sweat, yo, cause there it is.
Welcome to the There It Is podcast, a comedy podcast to help you find your inspiration. I'm your host, Jason Farr. Let's do this. Thanks so much for joining us today on this special day, November 2nd. A very important day because it means you need to vote for the Songs of Halloween bracket that we did last week in the Halloween episode with the Of the Show gang, and we just posted the enhanced version of the episode for you to check out on our YouTube page, youtube.com/thereitis. Brother of the show put some fun stuff in there for you to check out, but you can get the bracket on the website. So be sure to vote today, November 2nd, on what songs you think are the best for Halloween. Okay, so be sure you do that. It's an important day. It's your civic duty. Let's just call it that. Let's call it a civic duty for you to vote for Songs of Halloween. So go do that bracket. Make sure you go to thereitispod.com and get educated on the Songs for Halloween. Do that bracket and then listen to this fun episode we have today. It is with all-around star Jackie Skinner. She is in New York City, writing, performing, she's doing it all. And we talk about all of that and also how the pandemic has affected our comedy pursuits. Let's just get right to it. Here's my chat with Jackie Skinner. But it may have been late 2019 that we last saw each other.
Holy moly. Yeah, so 2 years.
Yeah.
Then, right? Holy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't recall if I saw you right before the pandemic. So it's nice.
Well, you haven't aged. You haven't aged a year.
And you have gotten younger, I can tell. So.
Yeah. It's the Zoom filter.
I don't know. Are you from Boston originally?
Yeah, this is a wonderful question. From Waltham, Massachusetts, so the greater Boston area. But everyone in my family was born in at Mount Auburn Hospital in Cambridge.
Okay. I was looking at all the different comedy things you've done, and I was like, have you also lived in Chicago? Because you've done stuff in Chicago. Didn't you learn sketch at Second City?
Oh my God. It's been a roller coaster, Jason. I learned, how do I even want to begin? I didn't officially start doing comedy until I lived in San Francisco. So I graduated from school. I never thought that I could pursue it just never
But you
was
clearly
planted in my
loved
head.
it. You clearly loved it
Oh,
as a kid and were a
100%.
child performer. Yeah. At least around the
100%.
house.
Oh, sure. My college essay, I should really find this, but my college essay I wrote about dancing in the kitchen, and it was so cheesy, but it was because me and my sister used to put on performances, do choreography in our kitchen, and then my parents would sit at the table and watch, and so my college essay was oh, I can't wait to perform in the kitchen of life, which is college or something like that. And mapped it to perform. So yeah, 100% loved it. And my
Mhm.
family or my mom put me in opera class or opera camp in second grade. So there were all these little performance outlets, but I never knew. I don't know that I loved performing as much as I loved making people laugh, because it was
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I guess it's the trope of um not that you're bullied, but maybe you're not the most popular kid in school, and it was oh, what my ticket to ride was making people laugh. You know what I mean? That's how I can get away with it. But yeah. So moral of the story is, when I graduated college, I moved out to San Francisco, and I was oh, I'll be a California girl and pay off all my student loans by getting a little tech job. And
Mhm.
Hated it, hated everything.
Mm.
And before I had made the decision to move to Austin, but before I was like, let me do everything I never did, and took stand-up classes. There was a place
Wow.
called SF Comedy College, and it was just like some guy rented a classroom and was like, I had done a few sets of the punchline. I can talk about this.
Mhm.
We had like our little workbook and then started learning how to write jokes, and I was not proud of any of the I would never. I've hidden my set on YouTube and all that stuff. It was like very embarrassing.
Mhm.
But I was good at it. Like people laughed.
Mm.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing that. But that's how I get started. And then I moved to
Oh,
Austin,
wow.
Texas, and did some stand up there, and then got into improv and musical improv. And then
In
while I was
Austin?
down in Austin, yeah.
Where at in Austin?
My the main digs were Hideout.
I
Hideout
think I've heard of them,
taught,
yeah.
yeah, they're on Congress, so like right in the middle of town. Was it the Hideout? Yes, the Hideout. And then while I was there, there was also the Institution Theater and Cold Town were the other big ones.
And I've definitely heard of Institution, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then not fall. I think it's called Fallout today, but there was another one. It was I met someone at like a free class in Cold Town, Katie Matthews, and we're like, you know what? Let's sign up for a class together. And the next upcoming class was at Hideout, and so we're like, let's do it. And so that's how I fell into that theater. But they teach a lot of narrative improv. Like their bread and butter is like doing an hour long improvised Chekhov show or improvised Disney or improvised Shakespeare, that kind of stuff. So I learned improv in a way that was very um how do I say this? Like thinking about the what's going to happen, like think about the rising action, think about like what a storyline is. And I think
Mm.
by the time I came to Magnet, where we both perform, that was stuck in my brain, which is good for musical improv, right? Because you know that
Right.
you have to create an arc. But for regular improv, I don't know. I don't know that it served me. I mean, no poo poo on Hideout, but yeah, yeah, yeah. So
No,
that's
I
where I did.
totally get what you mean, though, because if it's improv to develop sketch, that's great.
Yes.
Um, but and like you said, it's great for musical improv. But if you're doing just any other kind of improv where they're just saying just go with whatever happens, it can really stall a player to think like, oh, this is what I was hoping the direction
A
would go in,
hundred
and now it's
percent.
not. Yeah,
Yep. Yep. It's like, oh, if
yeah.
I'm building this character thinking that trying to set my character up or someone else's character up for some sort of arc, which is also probably not what they taught me, but that's when I realized, oh, I got writer brain, so maybe I should do sketch and not improv.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how, because
Yeah.
I knew that you did all these. I knew you did stand up, improv, musical, improv, sketch, but I was trying to figure out how sketch came into it, and even how
Yeah.
you ended up in Austin doing improv. What brought you to Austin?
Oh my God. So I really disliked San Francisco. It just wasn't for me.
Mm.
I'm an East Coast lady, and I think when, when I moved to San Francisco, I thought it was going to be like San Diego. So the first time I went out, I wore flip flops, and then I was like, "Oh, if you've ever been to San Francisco, it's very cold." And so my move to Austin was, "Hey, I want to go somewhere warm, and I still want to do comedy." And
Hmm.
and I was able to do it with my tech job or my 9 to 5. So that's why I chose Austin.
I see.
And then yeah, from there, the friend who I had met in Austin, me and her went for 2 weeks to Second City, and we're like, you know what, let's do an intensive. And so that's what we did. And that was my introduction
Ah,
to the sketch world, was sketch
okay.
101, sketch 201, and then two improv um classes too. Yeah, and even then I was like, I don't know if this is the sketches I wrote were horrible. It was like, what do I know? It's like, oh, my mom was an aerobic instructor. Wouldn't it be fun if there were 3 aerobics instructors and they were wacky? It's like, oh, that's not enough to carry a sketch. But then from there I moved to New York, and when I got to New York, I wanted to do musical improv because I didn't think I was as good at sketch as I was. And so I did musical improv when I got to New York, and then got to a point where I had worked so hard and spent so many hours and so much time doing improv and just didn't have like a love for it that
Hmm.
I did for for stand up. So that's when I started doing sketch. I had auditioned for a sketch team. I got on a sketch team and I was like, oh, I can work on making something perfect, I think. Or
Mm.
not perfect, but I can take something, an idea, and try to make it better, which is also when I realized I was a little bit type A. Because I thought I was
Oh.
such a chill girl. Nothing like wanting to control an improv scene and
Right.
doing sketch to make it perfect to realize that you're a type A person. But yeah.
And how did you end up in New York?
Same thing. I had an opportunity to move and I knew that I wanted to. Austin got really small really fast and I loved doing comedy, but I didn't I wanted to be in a bigger hub where I'm learning from new people, learning from different styles. So I was gunning for Chicago and a role at my company opened up in New York. So I was like, you know what, let's go for New York. And
Mm.
yeah, I knew that I wanted to be in or work where there was a comedy hub, but would never made I didn't make enough money to like quit. I always want to like quit my job, try to do something creative full time, but I couldn't do it. I think that's the dream, or that's like the image that is presented to you, that to be a successful artist, you have to dedicate like all your time to what you're doing. But I think the only way I was able to make the like moves like that happen and still do comedy on the side was by having a 9 to 5 the entire time.
How did sketch become a part of it at IO? No, not IO, but
Second
Second
City.
City.
Yeah. So I had taken a course there or a class and I was so bad that I was like, this isn't for me. So I took a step back from it and then I didn't officially really dive into sketch until I want to say 2015, 2016, when I had auditioned for a magnet team and I realized, oh, you know what? Improv, I love doing musical improv. I enjoy improv, but I find myself like not having anything to show for my work. And I really wanted to take these ideas and work and make them a little bit better. So that's how I
Mm.
kind of decided or like transitioned into the sketch world.
Okay, so you took the full curriculum at Magnet.
I actually, I don't know that I took. You know what I did is they had the Moxie, which is a sketch
Moxie is
lab.
cool, yeah.
Yeah, for female identifying non-binary folks, and
Mhm.
that's was my first introduction to sketch. But I didn't take one writing class at Magnet. I think I did all my sketch writing and character classes at UCB, and that's how I
Oh,
learned.
okay. And I guess you also did some stuff at the Pit.
Oh my gosh. You have a better memory from me, Jason. Yeah, what did I do at the Pit? Improv. I did a majority
Okay,
improv classes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
And then spanning across everything, I used it as an excuse to travel. So I did a lot of festivals. So it was mostly stand-up festivals and then secondarily sketch. I think traveled with sketch, traveled with some improv teams, and then right at what is it, winter 2019 into like beginning of 2020, I had started to take I wrote a one person show and had
Hmm.
started to take it around and then forget it. That was it. Everything shut down and yeah, beginning of March, and that was that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how much you were doing, because we covered all the different things you've done, but I don't think we've really laid out the fact that you were doing a lot of this at the same time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, a
Um,
hundo Pete.
especially here because you had when by the time you were in New York, you had at least dabbled in everything by this point. You'd been doing stand up for a while, improv for a while, and then you bring in sketch, and you're going to multiple theaters and performing and taking classes. So that is like a 40-hour a week job. I mean,
It's
that's a lot.
it's nuts. Well, I'm sure you were doing the same same
Not
thing when
like
you came
that.
to
I
New York.
mean, because I've only been at Magnet, and after a
Yeah.
while, I got sort of over the open mic scene here. So
Yeah.
I wasn't doing stand up as much unless it was like a friend show.
Yeah.
That and he was like, "Hey, why don't you come on?" But I did find an open mic that I like that's near me. But then when I didn't have practice on Mondays, I was like, okay, I'll go there. Then now that I have my Mondays open, and then the pandemic happened. So I have no
Dude,
idea if they're even still doing stuff.
yeah, I have no idea either. Honestly, I didn't realize how much I was doing until the pandemic, and I think my
Mm,
body like crashed for a few months. Yeah, I think every single night I had either a show or a rehearsal, whether it
right.
was with the sketch team, then executives was we had a show every Friday, and then we had
Mhm.
our rehearsal, we had a writers meeting, and then on the side, I was also trying to put together my show and then rehearsing and performing my show.
Mhm.
And I don't even remember outside of that. The sketch and character shows were primarily what I was doing before that, but you're 100% right. It was like a mix of classes, a mix of shows, and I think my attitude going into that was, how do I meet as many people as I can? How do I get as many like reps in so I can be like the best performer that I want to be? And I was really obsessed with making something good and um I don't know, like get meeting people and kind of meeting the community and being a part of a community. And I think not that I would do anything differently, but I think what COVID showed me is that I'm way better off. I don't know if this is a personal thing or something that everyone can benefit from, but I'm way better off investing time into one thing and kind of taking the time and rest for myself. I think on top of everything else, on top of having a job, doing working on all these projects, you don't have time to rest, and I think I
Yeah.
turned into a little bit of a monster. I don't know. I mean, ask around. We can
I have not
probably
heard such things, but I don't know.
depends who you're asking, I guess, but, I wonder if the quality of, like, the work I was putting out or if I would be more proud of stuff that I was doing if I had scaled back a little bit. I think
Mm,
I very much got caught up in the rush of, like, "This is a community, I gotta stay an active member of the community or everyone will forget me, and then I'll never
mm,
be able to step on a stage ever again."
mhm. That
Which is
is
so
a
dramatic.
real feeling that I think people have, especially well, not especially, just like in anything
Yeah,
at a theater where you have gotten involved and you don't want to have FOMO, you don't wanna be forgotten, so it's easy to think, "Well, I have to do everything then so that I can stay
yeah.
relevant in this," and it's not the healthiest mindset to approach doing this stuff.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And I think I lost sight of why I did like why do I even do it in the first place? I think there's a lot of folks who I see who like they want to be famous. Like the end goal is they want
Mhm.
to be on SNL or they want to be cast in this in the next sitcom, the next movie. They want to write something that's picked up by Netflix. And I don't know that that is the right goal for me. And I think I was a little aimless, you know? It's
Mm.
kind of like, oh, people are doing shows on Instagram. I gotta do shows on Instagram. Someone did a funny
Oh,
TikTok. I
yeah.
gotta make a funny TikTok. And
Right.
I think during COVID, I was like, no, why do you like this? Like, oh, I like live performance. I like that feeling, or I want to create something that's new. It's like, okay, how do I invest in that as a goal instead of doing doing stuff just because other people are doing like, oh, I gotta put my character reel together so I can put it online so that people know that I'm also making a character reel.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't know. And
think, I think also one thing that people forget is, like, before they're on Daily Show or SNL, they don't realize or working at a late night show, they don't realize that these people have breaks.
mhm,
I mean, I know a talk show is a daily thing and they get less breaks than SNL gets, but it's also a team. It's not one writer and the host, it's a team of writers. So you can't compare you one person to an entire show and say like, "Well, I need to be putting out that level of content and that, that volume of content." It's like, how could you? That they have a 14-person writing staff.
yeah,
They have all these producers too who are helping create this stuff. So it's a big machine and it's well oiled and you cannot compare yourself to that. And then also you got to realize like, yes, SNL is a grind. We hear about how rough and tumble the weeks can be and how it's just like nonstop and you hardly see anybody. But they do 3 shows and then they have 2 or 3 weeks off.
yeah, and the
That
break.
was the MO for a long time until last season. And
Yeah,
then they're not on during the summer. So they're not constantly doing that grind 100% of the year. They're
Yeah.
doing that grind for 22 weeks of the year, which isn't
Yeah.
even half the year. Well, I guess it's 22 weeks. Maybe it's a little more. I don't know how the math works out, but it's like a school year, basically.
Yeah, sure.
You get three
Sure.
months off in the middle of doing all these shows, and a lot of those shows have a bunch of weeks in between them.
Yeah.
So you can't compare yourself to that. You can't try to work at that grind because you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah. 100%. And I don't think anyone realized that until COVID, or I didn't realize that
Hmm.
until COVID. And even it during COVID, I think there was a period of time where like, yeah, let's do online shows. Let's do a show on Zoom. Let's make a virtual show. And then about like 2/3 into it, I was like, I can't do anything. For
Yeah.
multiple reasons. I mean, everyone has stuff going on outside of it. It was a
Hmm.
traumatic year for everyone.
Right,
Nobody's
right.
talking about it. No one's
No.
talking about how messed up we are because I think we're still in it. That's
Hmm.
another tirade that'll go on. But yeah, I think telling myself that it's okay to not do anything for months was hard, but I think
Hmm.
it is good. And then if great, you think of something funny, I think of something funny, I'll write it down and see where it goes from there. But that pressure, like I think I know I was really hard on myself, and I know a lot of the people who I've been on teams with are really hard on them, are really really hard on themselves, and that just sucks all the fun out of it. I
Hmm.
think, or not all the fun, but you don't. I think I make the best, the quote unquote, the best comedy when I'm happy or relaxed and
Right.
working with people who are excited to work together, not because, oh, we have to do this to put this up on something so someone can see it. You know what I mean?
You're touching on a lot of things because I witnessed that too. That at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of, okay, well let's do this, let's do that. Actually, at the very beginning, I was like, oh, it'll be a couple of weeks. It'll be great to just slow
Mm-hmm.
down. And then that kept getting extended, which I think increased everyone's anxiety, but then also distracted us a bunch. But then we tried to, there was those couple few months of trying to make the most of it and make the best of it.
Yeah.
Because how many people did you hear say, hey, now you can write that screenplay, or hey, now you can write that book, and da 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 da. And by the summer, there were a bunch of healthcare experts who were saying that's not what you should be
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
into you've got to take care of yourself right now, not find another way to overwork yourself. And your brain
Yeah.
is also going through a lot of weird things right now. So don't try to now add on this thing that's going to be very difficult to do. I mean, if you're in a headspace to do it, fine. But
Yeah.
it was people did not take the health. A lot of people did not take the healthy way of dealing with it because we didn't know how to.
Yeah.
And then they bit off more than they could chew, and that's why so many things that had been started, podcasts or weekly comedy shows online, don't exist and didn't exist by the end of the year.
Yeah. It's tough. And I admire folks for trying, and I admire you
Me
folks
too.
also. I know that you or it was so cool to see. I know one of your improv groups had split up, and people were all over the country, and to be able to give it to be able to have an opportunity where you could all still perform together on Zoom
Hmm.
was so cool, and I think that's a benefit of it. But to your and I'm not discrediting that at all, but
No, no, because I
your
did it, and it had its own downside, but yeah, there was something good about just
and
attempting
maintaining
it.
connection,
Yeah.
it was also really important. But to your point, yeah, to put the pressure on yourself to sustain something weekly, to like make the next screenplay. What was it? It's like, well, hey guy, who was saying this? Or this is so wrong, but someone's like, oh, but Picasso made the big paint thing during the Spanish flu or whatever. What was
Yeah.
it? Someone wrote.
I didn't see this, but I don't remember.
It's like, oh, someone wrote this really cool book the last time we had the flu, and it was like, cool. So now we all have to come up with this art. We all have to come out with art now. I
We have to go with the
can't.
best thing we've ever made.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Ah,
Life was so different then. We can't really compare to that either,
I know. I know. Ugh,
because life was
mamma mia.
slowed down then. They didn't have the internet. And so they
That's so
like
you couldn't see everyone on TikTok and their hype
right.
houses.
Having to sit in your home because you're quarantining in 1918 was very different than quarantining now because life was slower then. They
I love
people
how
weren't
you're
trying to
putting your
do every that was a time period where people pretty much stayed in their hometown. Like people weren't like moving all over the place and trying to do everything. They were just very much like, I've got to work on the farm.
Yeah, yeah. No planes. You can't go to Italy.
Right.
You couldn't go to Fort Lauderdale. You couldn't go to Florida.
So there was a different pace at the time that quarantining was much more similar to. So, now people were at a different pace and then came to a halt and then were just doing everything on the internet, looking at everything, watching everything, taking in a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
and then trying to then create stuff like that. And it's just a totally different headspace. You can't expect someone to slow down as much.
You're 100% right.
Of course, someone was able to write a great book in 1918, quarantine, than the average person would really be able to now, just because there's so much more I feel like is going on.
Yeah. Right, we're all so much more plugged in. I'm
Hmm.
curious, did you have any points over the pandemic where you had to check out, whether it was like you had to disconnect from Instagram, you had to we're seeing people putting out stuff or being on social media or being so connected, like whether it's from a comedy standpoint or not, was there any point where you have to be like, no, I can't do it?
That's a great question. I think I just automatically did that with TikTok from the very beginning
Yeah.
because I put a couple of silly things on there, but it very much was not born of, well, everyone's got a TikTok and they're all, that's how
Sure.
people are. Maybe this I can, oh, maybe this can help me with that. Instead, it was just like, oh, I have a funny bit and I'll do it. And then I'm not trying to do a bit a day or
Yeah.
something like that, like some people were. And I also just wasn't watching TikTok a lot because I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So much of it was, you know, teenagers dancing. So that was
Yeah.
the first few months I was like, well, I'm not even going to get that app because it doesn't sound like I should be on there looking at that, and don't have any desire to look at that. And but Justina, girlfriend of the show, who says hi, by the way,
Oh, hello.
she was looking at a bunch of stuff, and she was finding funny things on there and dog related stuff on there, and showing it to me. And I even then I was like, I don't want to watch as much content, but um, I eventually just got an account and was like, well, here are a couple of funny things on here. And then like a couple of people I like got accounts and they were doing some funny things. But I have
Yeah.
a very still minimal relationship with TikTok. And I I think it was because I was already just from the beginning like there's enough stuff that I want to watch that I'm behind on, and I don't
Yeah.
need this right now. Like
That's
I'm
like
still
well
behind.
crafted
Yeah.
storytelling. Yeah.
And I
Uh,
I actually probably still have to do that. Okay, I just can't with
yeah.
trying to catch up on everything because almost every podcast that I listen to, I'm a year behind on. Shows that I like, I'm a year behind on. And I might just have to go, you know what? I'm never going to catch up on this show. I will watch a recap.
Yeah. You
And there's
gotta
something.
abandon ship on a few. How would you eat so much content? I guess.
There's so much content. And that was the other thing. Like at like last summer or the beginning of last summer, oh gosh, there were so many people that were doing things and Magnet was doing shows and I felt
Yeah.
obligated to watch all of them as
Mhm.
some sort of idea of support. And it's like, I didn't go to every show when I could get free tickets to every show and I still wasn't going to every show. Why am I trying to watch everything now?
Yeah.
It was just there's not enough time in the day to listen to every podcast and watch every show and look at every Twitch that that's
Yeah.
out there and every YouTube that's out there.
Ugh. And I think it's I get caught up in that too, where it's like, oh, I gotta go to every show. But at some point, it's like, okay, what? Of course, yes, support your friends. Choose one show a week where you're gonna support a friend, but also, I finding what you like is so important too, and what making sure you're watching things you like, and you're not just like, well, out of obligation, or I feel like
Mhm.
I should do this. Like finding something that you like, and it's saying, okay, I'm gonna stick with this, or thinking about why you like it and continuing to pursue it and watch it. I think there's something to say. I know I get caught up in like, well, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings if I go to this person's show and not this person's show. And it's like, oh, mamma mia. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had the same, I guess, experience with the content friends were putting on TikTok and Instagram for a bit, where I was like, oh, I've gotta support, I gotta let them know that I think they're so great because I think they're so great, and I don't want them to like feel like no one cares because I definitely care, but there's just not enough time in the
I
day
know.
to watch everything. And
You
there's too
can't.
much stuff, frankly, now. As someone who grew up when I did watching just whatever was on on
Yeah.
television,
Yep.
which was minimal. I mean, I remember when it got to like 57 channels, it was just like on basic cable.
Man came by to hook up my cable TV. We settled in for the night. There was 57 channels and nothing on.
Yeah.
I that was what people were a little bogged down by that many channels. And so for us to have way more television channels and YouTube and every
Yeah.
streaming service and podcasting and I mean it's there's just too much out there. We shouldn't waste our time with bad stuff, and we shouldn't feel bad if we can't catch everything that's good.
Why do you think we feel like because this is such a phenomenon that I feel I feel a little guilty sucking up airtime on a podcast talking about it, but it's
Me
such a
too.
real I feel it's such a real thing, this like hive mind of we have to do what like we have to support the community, we have to watch this content, we have to go to the shows. And I'm trying to figure out where it comes from. And I've been through a lot of therapy to like unpack why. And hopefully I have like a healthier relationship with that sort of dynamic or that like being obsessed with the social, like showing love on social media or showing love for your friends who are creating content so that they know that you care instead of doing it in real life or like calling someone on the phone. But I'm curious if you have any thoughts on where that need to either be a I don't know, make that comment on Facebook or on
Mhm.
Instagram or show up to that show, like where that comes from.
I don't know, honestly. I mean, when it comes to watching content, I think it comes from how we're sort of programmed.
Mhm.
I mean, we were primed and ready for that because so many of us grew up on TV, right? You know, like just
Mhm.
TV is the babysitter. But when it
Yeah.
comes to supporting, I wonder if it's just like us wanting, like, if I were in their shoes, I would want that support or something like that. And so obviously, a lot of it is genuine. I mean, you know, we're not saying things to people
Right.
that we don't mean.
Yeah.
But why do we feel so anxious to share that we saw it and you know, like it got, you know, I don't know. I
I
really
know.
there's got to be something, but I don't know why that is that we feel that anxiety over it. That's a form of social anxiety, right? That we feel that
Yeah.
we have to make sure we support someone and then reach out and let them know that we saw it and comment and like. How many times I do this all the time? I'll see something on Facebook and I'll like a picture, someone posting about something that happened, or whether it's large or small, I'll like it. Then later when I'm on Instagram, I'll see the same post because they just posted it at the same time. and
Yeah.
I feel obligated to like it there too.
You gotta cross
Right.
cross promote. Yeah. Cross support. Ah,
I mean, I
I
already told
know.
them I liked it on the other app. Why do I feel like, oh, I've got to let them know that I like this?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a
Ah.
real good friend because I liked it on both.
But yeah, it's like your MySpace top 5. You've been promoted again. You want to keep that top 5 slot. Yeah. Oh gosh. I don't know. And I wonder if part of it is like comedians, you want laughs, you want people to like you, you want people to think you're funny. So God
Mhm.
forbid you don't do that, like that person doesn't like you, that person doesn't think you're funny. I think we're all like a little we got to screw everyone who's a comedian has a little screw loose
For sure.
somewhere.
I wonder where this comes from because I notice a lot of people who are looking for a career in comedy or entertainment. I notice how they are online when they are the grinders who learned from some blog or some class they took about how to grow your career, how to post on social media and how to present. And some of them do it in such a technical, almost businessy sort of way that I read that part of it and it makes me not like
Yeah.
engaging.
Because it's a formula, right?
Mhm.
It's a formula, and you're like and then it doesn't feel authentic anymore. I've thought about this
Mm.
too. It's like, what are the tips and tricks? And like and I feel like this is tied a lot to like, what is the trajectory? Like, how could you climb the comedy ladder to success
Mhm.
when it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, and I think that's kind of the issue that I have. This is okay. Let me step up on my soapbox. When it comes to sketch and kind of, uh, uh, mm, okay, I gotta be careful with what I say, but I think that, especially when it comes to sketch, where there's this formula and potentially some gatekeeping going on to get onto a team to make sure that
Mhm.
you write a sketch that has 3 beats that heighten and that are written
Mhm.
with this formula. And I really that also I think is start gets under my skin too, right? So it's like
Mhm.
it kind of destroys the
Same.
authenticity. It causes you to get in your head, so you're not just thinking and focusing or following what the funny thing is. You're like, I need to follow this formula. So instead of being
Yeah.
yourself on social media, which maybe potentially could give you more of a leg up, instead of using the right hashtags to ride the right algorithm wave so that Instagram can send you into
Right.
success land. There's something about formulas and that contributes to a lack of authenticity that makes things a like right. It becomes business, and business
Mhm.
is not fun. Although
Yeah.
LinkedIn can sometimes be a blast, but it's not all. It's not. It kind of, yeah. I don't know.
It's
I think,
bizarre, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. It's something I'm still unpacking because it's still unfolding and then also because the algorithms change, the formula changes
mhm,
and which is annoying. But you know, with this podcast I want to promote it and I think I'm used to promotion. I'm used
yeah,
to a television show having an ad. I get that, and I get the polish.
yeah,
I'm accustomed to seeing how people put polish in presenting their piece of work, and even that can get kind of gross. But I have a threshold. I have a very high threshold
yeah,
when it comes to something like somebody's album or somebody's book or somebody's movie or podcast or stuff like that, I get. But when it's someone selling themselves as a personality so that they can get a leg up in their career, I have way less of a threshold to engage with that and to take it in a bunch. And I
yeah.
think it is because it's inauthentic and you see the formula in it and inherently check out.
Because you know what the goal is, right? The goal is
Mhm.
like, how can I get as many followers? What is the formula I need to amass like some sort of social, like
Mhm.
digital currency is what it is. And ah I don't know, and it's hard because now my brain is being like, my brain is saying like, well, cool. They know what they want. They want a bunch. They want. They have a goal, and this
Right.
is the path that they're using to take it. And then maybe our personal preferences are no. You know what? We respond to people who are different, but fully being themselves, and that's what works
Hmm. Hmm.
for us. But
I definitely have
I
moments
know.
like that. Yeah, where I'm giving them a like the benefit of the doubt of like, hey, that's what you got to do. You know, whatever. They're trying to make it.
Yeah.
They're trying to have a career. I am too. I get it.
Yeah.
But a lot of the content rubs me so it's not really anyone I follow, in all honesty. There's like one person maybe that I follow where I'm like, ugh, this guy is all over the place. He's so all over the place, and I'm tired of but
Yeah. It's
for the
like,
most part, it's not like that, you know, when it's someone I follow.
yeah. No, I understand it. And it's hard because I always I never want to punch down on some, you know what I mean? I never want to
Right.
kind of kick someone around, but I know that that doesn't resonate with me and that I can kind of see through it. And I
Mhm.
don't know that I've seen that work also.
Yeah, I
I
mean, like, isn't that part of it is that, like, you don't know what's gonna work and one person put something out and for whatever reason, it got a lot of hits and then it got them a lot of attention and they were putting out bits a bunch and they're funny bits, so I get it. Like for instance, a great example, Kyle Gordon. I have no problem with his online presence because he's not shoving himself down everyone's throats, right? Like, he's
and it's
not.
he's different. He's so funny and and different. And I think that is
Mhm.
also is
He's
something.
all over the place in a genuine way where it's, like, not too
Yeah.
much.
Quando Domine, please stop talking in the back.
Tie! Tie! That was a tie! No, dodgeball is not allowed. My mom's on the school board. She got it banned.
He's not
Sure.
like he's not just following the algorithm so perfectly that, no matter what, it comes up in my feed. Like, he's just doing stuff that's natural to him, and it's funny, and so when I see it, it doesn't rub me the wrong way because it's just a comedy piece.
Yeah.
It's not an ad for himself.
Sure, sure,
It's
sure.
just a
I see what you're
comedy piece.
saying. Yeah. Ah, why do we do this?
I know. And, like, the thing is, there's so many people who that is what they have to do. They have to sell themselves that much
Yeah,
because their agent and their
that's what they
manager is
want.
telling them
Yeah.
to, and they're saying, like, "This is what everyone's doing now." So,
Mhm.
I can't really front on them for that. Like, that's what they are being told,
Yeah.
and shit, you know, everyone has to, like, succumb to that at some point. If I get an agent, then that agent might say, "Hey, you know, like, write a joke a day on Twitter," you know, like,
Yeah,
or
do a
do
goofy
like
TikTok.
do some TikToks, and I'm like, I just wanna do it at the right I just don't think everyone should be doing it the same way or
Yeah.
attempting to do it the same way. I think, you know, I understand if someone needs to do it a little more than they do, but I also don't understand, uh, everyone following the exact formula
Yeah.
with such laser sharp focus that there's no authenticity to it and is ultimately not enjoyable. It's just content.
Yeah. That made me think of what I wish someone had told me maybe 5 years ago is stop focusing on what everyone else is doing. Stop like trying to it almost feels like spray out in 8 different ways to see what
Mhm,
catches, but it's like figure out what your sense of humor is, figure out what you're good at, figure out what your lane is,
mhm.
and what you love to do, and just lean really hard into that. And I think a lot of folks are just like, see what works, apply for everything, write every packet, write 5 pilots, write a few specs. And it's like, but what do you want to do? What do you really want to
Exactly.
do? And what'll make you happy? And we're all gonna die someday. So if I spend
Right.
like 30 hours a week on TikToks and then I'm on my deathbed, am I gonna be like super amped about it?
Right.
I know not to make this super dark, but I've had enough time in COVID to really think everything through. And it's too life is too short to do something that's not gonna make you happy. With the
Mhm.
caveat that you got to make your agent happy, you got to make your manager happy, and hopefully
Right,
you'll find the things
you
you
gotta
love.
play ball sometimes,
Hmm.
but it shouldn't be at the expense of your health. I think there is a anxiety-inducing way that people engage with this, and they shouldn't.
Hmm.
Like sometimes it can be simple. It doesn't have to be this major thing, but you do need to know yourself and know what works for you and do that stuff. And that doesn't mean
Hmm.
like take the easy road. I mean, you can still work hard, but don't do it at the expense of your well-being. And
Yeah.
also, like, why are we creating so much content for billionaires anyway? That's essentially what so much of it is. It's just
Yeah, the next Amazon ad, so Amazon can interact with your TikTok, and then I'm curious, do you think that you found your, I don't want to say your lane, that sounds so lame, but what makes you the most happy with comedy? Do you think you figured out what your
Hmm.
strengths are, what you like to do, what you like to lean into, or is it still work in progress?
I would say it's still a work in progress because I feel like I'm always still learning and I'm always like, oh, this person's so good. I wish I was on that level. I want to be good like they are, but not in a, I've got to be like this person and that. Like I've gotten a little past the like, um, oh, then I should be good at this and that and this other thing. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm past that. But the things that I admire and have always admired, I've identified the sort of stuff that I always wanted to be.
Hmm.
And I think I'm always just like constantly growing and wanting to get better at those things. And yet, when it comes to how I engage, I was thinking about this recently. Like if I wasn't on a house team at Magnet, what would I be doing? Because I would want to be doing improv a good bit. Like I just
Yeah.
enjoy it as an activity, and I don't engage it in a got to be on a house team because that'll look good to an agent, and I got to got to because
I gotta be on
that
the
takes
website. I need my
right.
headshot on the website.
That's no way to be a member of your community, right? That's no way
Yeah.
to be a good team player. You're not helping yourself or anyone else, and that's not fun. Like, is it true that having a house team, being on a house team and having that on your resume will look good to prospective agents? Yeah. But also the fact that you did it before will look good to prospective agents. You don't
Yeah.
have to do it now, especially right now where it literally doesn't matter
Doesn't mean
because what is going on? Like there is no one
I
who's going to cast and they're like no one in their right mind should cast based on well this person is on a house team now.
They went to
Like,
2 live shows in the summer of 2021.
right, I mean
Yeah.
it just doesn't matter. And so do what I just say do what's right for you, and to me I love doing improv and I think it's something that I am uh constantly trying to up my game with just because it's exhilarating when it's fun
Yeah.
and you're focused on the right things and it's that's where I'm at with that. um Finding my voice though I think has been a little weirder because I'm like I kind of
Yeah.
always knew it but also I don't necessarily know how to hone it and always give that like I think the best
Yeah.
comics. Well, I don't know. Maybe a lot of successful comics know exactly how to give you their voice.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't necessarily know how to do that. But not every comic is saying, well, this is what my voice is, and this is the exact way that it needs to be honed
Yep.
or executed. I don't
Sure.
know that everyone is doing that. I don't know that Chappelle is doing that. I feel like, like someone like Dave Chappelle is just a little different about how he approaches it. So,
Yeah, that's an I think because then it comes back to the formula, right? Like this is my
mhm,
voice, so it has to hit these tenets. And I think
mhm.
your voice now could be different than your voice 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mine has significantly changed. My comedy, what I find funny, has significantly changed over the past year. So I
Oh wow.
identify with the like, what is my voice? I have no idea. I have no idea. And I have taken a little bit of a break from comedy where I'm like, how would I even begin to start
Mm,
testing it out again? And how do I want to test it out again
yeah.
soon in the immediate future? Or yeah, take time to think about it. But
Yeah, and what direction would you want to go? Do you
oh,
want to do improv, sketch, and stand up again, or do you just want to do one or two of those, or what?
yeah, I don't know. I think this past year has been such a wake up call just with personal stuff and like really going through life.
Hmm.
I and I don't know if it's because we're still in COVID or still a little bit dramatic, but I find it's hard to watch sketch because I have the, well, how is this serving me? How is this serving anyone? Like if there isn't a good not if there isn't a good message. That's not something that I want to say, but it's like if it's not something new or different or thoughtful, then what's the point? For me, for when creating stuff. And it's been really hard to watch sketches because I'm like, out of all the things we've experienced in the past year, all you can think of is a poop sketch. Like, it's so infuriating to me. This is my own stuff. Whereas on the flip side, I'm like, yeah, doing something dumb with no stakes that is borderline idiotic would also be fun. So right now, I think I'm drifting more to the land of uh, a stand up in a sense that I want to filter things through a voice or through a point of view that is realistic, and kind of stay away from the goofy character stuff unless it's like filtered through my voice,
Mm.
or also produce. I think my type A personality has made me, I think, a decent producer, a decent director, a decent editor. Like I feel very confident that I have a good eye for stuff. Um, so yeah, the filtering thing. So I guess to answer your question, it's maybe something borderline stand-up hosting-ish,
Mm.
which I don't know what that looks like. And then still I love to direct and I love to edit and I love to produce. And even at work, I'm like helping provide feedback on like jokes to punch up stuff. And that's been really fun and kind of taking a back seat in the comedy world. I think might be beneficial or like even healthier for me where I can still be involved. I can still like contribute to making something great, but I'm not the one who's on the stage, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. Chase, I can't stop thinking about that. But I still write notes on my phone and I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be funny
Yeah.
if
Well,
there
I
were
do that too because I haven't done stand up in a couple years, but I'll still write. I'll still, especially in certain phases, I'll just write a bunch of stuff. I'll just end up
yeah.
having some ideas, and I kind of always. I'm not. I don't know that I'd be super prepared, but I could easily put together a set. And I think there's a part of my brain that was like, if someone were to say, "Hey, go do some stand up right now,"
Yeah.
just have something that you can talk about. So I'm sort of
Yeah.
always, I think I just maybe naturally like to think of jokes or ways to present stuff, but I haven't done it on a stage in so long
I know.
that, I don't know.
It's a muscle. It's such a muscle. I
Yeah, it
will say
is.
that I loved doing Zoom stand up. I loved it. I know people
Yeah.
hated it. I loved it because I think the one of the stand up shows I did was for, oh, it was a group of us. My friend had organized it because she knew someone who wanted to do fun, like a fun day, a fun corporate event for a law firm. So it
Hmm.
was for 40 lawyers on mute. No one unmuted. All of these lawyers were on mute. And I just like shared a PowerPoint, like got really close to the screen and just did all this wacky stuff that you couldn't do in real life. I
True.
didn't have
Yeah.
to get on the train and go to like it wasn't like going to an open mic, you know what I mean? And I loved it. I loved it so much. And there's something about like
Huh.
going that was a little bit ah I think it felt safer because cool, instead of wallowing in front of the instead of going to the law office and standing in front of 40 lawyers who may or may not be laughing, and then ending the set and still being there and like sitting in it, where I could just be like, hey, if it didn't go well, I could shut my computer. And if it went well, I could say, yeah, good for me, and still shut my computer.
I think I didn't do any stand up on over Zoom. I did improv over Zoom, but one thing that I did do, there was a friend was getting married, and it was a improv friend from back home, and they did a roast
Oh, that's so
of them, and
funny.
the old theater did a bunch of roasts, and so for his bachelor party, there was a roast element to it, and I had a lot of fun with that, and
Yeah.
that was the closest to stand up that I thing that I did, and I think I did enjoy that ultimately more than improv. Like what I enjoyed about Zoomprov was just getting to see my team and
Yeah.
goof around, but it just never really felt like, even if you're getting laughs, because everyone was unmuted and encouraged to to just laugh. Um, it wasn't as enjoyable as an activity. I think because it was so different than actual stage
Yeah.
improv, whereas stand up, it's you anyway. It's just you telling your jokes, and so
Yep.
you can kind of. I feel like for me at least, it's like it gave me permission to just say screw it and just have fun.
Yeah.
So I could see that being the thing with stand up. I'm just like, whatever. Hey, we're in
Yeah.
this. I'm gonna tell these dumb jokes the way I do when I'm alone anyway.
Yeah. The
Like
stakes
when
are
I'm rehearsing in my
so
room.
100%. The stakes are so low. The stakes are so low.
Hmm.
Ah, I love it. I love it so
Yeah.
much. I know. I can't remember. And then every 5 minutes be like, order in the court. Just like scream to a bunch of lawyers who are already on mute. Did they laugh? I don't know. It was so stupid.
Oh, that's fun.
Uh,
Um, well, sadly, we're at the end of the episode. And
uh,
I say sad because I wish
we
we
could
could talk for another hour, but
not.
I don't do a 2 hour podcast. Um, so let's create something together. And the idea I have is uh like a show idea. Like what could be
Ooh.
your next thing? You're gonna do a live show. What could it
Uh,
be?
I
So
have
what could we
been
develop?
Yeah, I've recently been obsessed. I love crowd work, crowd participation, and there was I haven't gone to Matt Brooks is part of this. A friend of mine is part of
Mhm.
um oh my gosh, it's one of the Real Housewives of New York who's doing like a cabaret show, and the whole thing is basically her talking directly to the audience. And there's something that is you cannot not be engaged when you're a part of the show.
Now, I don't have a problem showing the skin. What backstage to skin to win. Can you have some drums? Can I get some drums? Can I get a little
And
Mhm.
I've been thinking about that a lot. And have you ever seen what is it? Light, no light makes the baby go blind. New light makes the baby go blind. What is
I
that?
don't know that.
It started in Chicago. And it's a live state. Too much light makes the baby go blind. And it's 30 plays in 60 minutes where
Wow.
they hang up like I think it's 1 through 30, like numbers on a clothesline, and they ask the audience. The audience gets a menu where 1 through 30 they list the title of each play, and so they have the audience yell out what number they want, and so there's an improvised portion of it where they have to try and get through all 30 short plays in 60 minutes. And it was so cool because everyone's yelling, everyone's screaming. Some of the plays like involve the audience members.
Too Much Light is a unique experience certainly in Chicago theater, I think in American theater in that way, that it really is an unreproducible event that takes place on that night and will never be the same again.
It's theater that you have a dynamic relationship with. It's performance that never stops acknowledging that you're there and you're part of the equation.
You can go to any type of theater and sit there and watch the show, but this isn't one of them. If I'm ever in the show, I will not allow the audience to sit there and not experience the show with us, because that's a big part of the show.
Yeah. So does that work? Is that what? So make that work, Jason.
So if you were going to do that, because you've done a solo show before.
Yeah.
Would you do a hybrid show where it's something like that and you're doing stand-up?
I think so. And that show, I think there are parts of that show I was really proud of, and parts of the show I'm like, we don't need to do that anymore. But if there was a way I could involve an audience or bring audience on stage or ask a question, and I mean, it's almost like the musical improv aspect of it. Like, could you make a song with someone? There's another show, I think it's in DC, that they do it where they have people come up on stage, or like, if you have a single friend, you come up on stage and you do a whole presentation about your single friend to help them meet someone in the audience. And there's something
funny.
like that, and it's hard because I'm like, you don't want to take that idea, but it's how
Right.
can you incorporate having someone hype someone else up, right? It creates a super positive energy where someone's coming on stage, hyping their friend up. Everyone's there because they want to have a good time. It's like a very supportive environment. How do you recreate that?
Well, and also, so what if it's like coaching somebody for any kind of event? Like someone could say, I've got to do a best man speech, or I'm about to get interviewed for a job, or something like that.
Oh, that is so
And
funny.
you can try to coach them in it.
It's like a TED Talk. It's like a personalized TED Talk.
Yeah,
It's
like you try to, yeah.
yeah, best practices for it's like under the lens of like business, like LinkedIn jargon.
And they have to
Oh,
tell
that
you
is
how
so
it went
funny.
afterwards. So like when you, if let's say it's a recurring show,
Yeah.
then you can give updates on previous shows.
Oh, that is so funny.
And the name of it, I even have a name of it. It could be Skinner in the Game.
Skinner in the Game. It does feel like best practices for excelling at like something super jargony. Excel at your next.
But you care about them. You care about how they do it. You've got some
Yeah.
skin in the game, so
Yeah.
Skinner in the Game.
Oh! I didn't get it the first time. That is very good. You got some Skinner in the Game. Oh God bless that last name.
There it is.
There
We
it
did
is. We did it. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks so much for checking this episode out. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a fun one for us. And why don't you follow Jackie on Instagram at Jackie B. Skinner. Also, check out her sketch group, The Executives. They are nominated for some awards at the New York City Web Fest. And we have a link in the bio for you to check that Web Fest out, because that's happening soon, November 12th through the 14th. And you can check out The Executives on social media. They are at The Execs Comedy on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, don't forget to follow us at There It Is Pod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can follow me on Instagram at Jason Farr Pics, and on Twitter at Jason Farr Jokes. More fun eps coming up soon. Until next time, be good to each other.
The music for the theme song was created by Neil Brooks. The rap was written and performed by Nick Acevedo. The logo for There It Is was created by Jeff Prater. The There It Is podcast is produced by Jason Farr.